All right, I'm going to start up. Just a couple things before we get going. First, we're going to go through some examples today. I sent you an email yesterday that's got a zip folder with all the material that I'm going to cover this morning. I'm not going to cover all of it because there's probably about 40 programs in there. So we're going to look at a couple of them. Hopefully we can get that done by around 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, I'm going to have one-on-one meetings with you in the conference room that's down the hall. Just have you come in individually. And the rest of the period will be lab. Tomorrow will be the written test on Chapter 8. Friday will be the hands-on test for Chapter 8. Next week will be lab for the entire week. And the last class period, which is that Monday, will also be a lab then. Again, I'd like all work, anything that you might want to turn in for chapter work or hands-on work by a week from today, which is the 14th. All right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, you may or may not have ever gone out here. I might have even shown you this at the beginning of the semester. But if you get some time, and again, I sent you some of this information also today, but you might want to, and this kind of goes back to Ethan, what you asked me yesterday, and that is, you might want to go out, just start by going out here to mva.microsoft.com. Again, you don't have to do this, but especially if you're looking for a head start, so to speak, for next semester, it's something that you might want to do. All right, MVA it's an acronym that stands for Microsoft Virtual Academy. You don't have to join, but if you join, you can take a lot of classes, and many of them are free. All right, I'm not, telling you to go, oh yeah, take this because it costs money. No, a lot of the stuff you could take on here are free. And if you look, I'm not going to click any of these. But if you look, you'll notice there's one on C#, and there's another one on web development, and there's yet another one on database development. All right? So, under the C#, these right here, here are two of the courses, and they're both free, that you may or may not want to take a look at. They're long. The first one is called C Fundamentals for Absolute Beginners. It's taught by a gentleman named Bob Tabor. Again, it's a free class, and I also have it up here, so if you take a look, you may or may not like this, but the way that he typically teaches on his classes is he'll have an introduction, and then notice what he has here. Installing the software, creating your first program, understanding your first program. He takes this from a level where he even says at the beginning, he's assuming you have no programmatic knowledge whatsoever. So he shows you how you can load the software for free. I've got an email in to Evan Gudmested, who's my counterpart, as you know, in St. Louis. The school does have a license for Microsoft Visual Studio, the full-blown version. I don't know if I'm allowed to give that to you, and if I do, I don't know exactly how I do it. So I emailed him this morning and asked him, what should I be doing with that? If he says, no, you can't give that to him, then I will tell you, you can literally go out to visualstudio.com. That's the name of the editor that we're going to be using come spring. And if you go out to Visual Studio, try that again. If you go out to visualstudio.com, which is right there, www.visualstudio.com. All right. If you do this, notice the Visual Studio IDE, developed for any platform. All right. There's even some of your Xamarin stuff in here. Now, what I'm going to ask is don't download Visual Studio 2017. You see where it says RC by it? RC means release candidate, which means it's still in testing mode. So you don't want that one. All right, but you can go to Visual Studio IDE, click the Learn More button, and somewhere in there, sooner or later, it's going to give you a link the Visual Studio community. All right? And if you click the free download, that's where you can go and download, that's the free software. Now, I wouldn't do that yet. Please wait at least until tomorrow when Evan will have gotten back to me. And because if he says, well, no, you can give him this software for free and this is how you do it, I'd rather do that because it's more powerful. But the main difference is between this free version and the version I'm going to give you is the version that I would at least like to give you has got the ability to do reports, and it's got the ability to do databases, where the free version doesn't have the ability to do that. But that free version, that if you do want to download it now, well, I just can't wait, I just want to download it. If you download that, I guarantee you, it would handle 100% of the stuff we're going to do next semester. I can't say it's going to handle everything in the fall semester. I don't know. All right, because I'm not sure what that community version has. So, again, if you go to mva.microsoft.com and you click the C# link there, or picture, whatever you want to call it, one of the first things that you'll get to is this C# for Absolute Beginners class. All right? Some people don't like this, but what he does in a lot of his lectures, not all of them, but what he does in a lot of his lectures are this. I just want to show you this.
Hi, I'm Bob Tabor with Developer University, and I welcome you to this course covering the fundamentals of the C# programming language.
I just find it very hard to deal with. And you can make it full screen size, and he's down in the corner. Now, I watched the second one, and that was how to install the community version of Visual Studio. He's not in it at all. I will tell you with the second video, for whatever reason, the sound quality is unbelievably bad. I started watching the third video this morning. He's not in it, but he's writing code. He immediately in the third lesson says, let's write a real simple program. It's not going to do much, but I'm going to show you, and he asks you to do it with him. So he supposes that by that time, you have a version of Visual Studio loaded on your machine. All right? So the other thing I want to tell you about that, so again, if you're interested, cool, and if you're not, that's also fine. One of the other ones that's in here, this is also free. It's called Programming in C# Jumpstart for virtually every one of these topics that you see right here. Everything. Windows 10, cloud, game, web, database, etc. They all have jump starts in them. All right? Now, the jump starts are good. It's literally something they do over a day. You're not going to complete Bob Tabor's thing because it's got 25 lessons in it. If you really take your time, it'd take you probably at least a week to go through it. This thing is designed to be looked at in a day. I will tell you that if you do the jump start a lot of times, you might find, I haven't looked at this one, I've watched other jump starts from Microsoft. You might find that they talk a little over your head. In other words, they expect you have a certain knowledge base, which you may or may not have. But the reason I'm bringing that up is if you wanted to do something where you get a whirlwind tour in a day, you could do this. All right? And if you go, well, you know what? I don't want to do either one. Okay, then you don't want to do either one. It's not a problem. All right. So, again, as I mentioned to you, I sent you an email this morning. Actually, I guess it was yesterday. I sent two this. But, see, this is what I asked Evan. What version of Visual Studio 2015 do you have your students use for the C# class? Do you provide that software for them, or do they have to go out to the internet and download the community edition, also known as Visual Studio Express 2015? Thanks, Jeff. He usually gets back to me the same day. I don't know his schedule, so I can't guarantee that he's going to do that. All right. The thing that I sent you, and I actually have sent you two emails. One was a piggyback on the other one. These are the URLs for those two things. All right, the C# or C fundamentals, and I think it's C# fundamentals, not C, for absolute beginners, and the programming in C# Jumpstart. The other thing is what I sent you yesterday. So you have yesterday what I sent you is this. It says arrays, strings, etc.zip. If you right mouse click on that, oh look, Evan got back to me already. Hi Jeff, we currently use Visual Studio Community 2015. I have students download and install it the first day of class. Now, if you want, we can do that as a class, just so you're sure that you're doing it correctly. I have no problem with that. I don't need this guy's notes or anything, But we can do that. We can even do that today. That's fine. All right? So why don't we do it today? We'll do it maybe at 11:15 because in a half an hour I think we can do it without any problems. All right? So we'll do that at 11:15 today. And for the people who aren't here today, that's just Tiffany? Then you could, I'm sure you guys are close enough, you can let her know. All right? Or she can watch the tape too. All right. So the other stuff that's here then, this is what I sent you. So I'm going to right mouse click on that, do a save link as, and I'm just going to save it out to the desktop. It's called arrays-strings-etc.zip. So I just saved it out to the desktop. Don't know where it is. There it is. So it's right there, right on my nose. All right, so you see it right here. All right, I'm going to right mouse click on it, choose extract all, and I'm going to extract it. And I'll put that on my forehead. So there it is. All right, so what's in there? It is broken down into 6 sections. If you look up on the screen, not at me, but at the screen, I'm not going to go through section 0 at all. There are some DOM examples in there. I didn't even realize I had this. This is something I did 2 or 3 years ago from a book that I used 2 or 3 years ago. So if you're interested in that, there are a bunch of DOM examples, okay? And the last one's kind of neat because I will just show you that one because it literally is a photo gallery that you can peruse your way through. All right, they're not my photos or anything like that, and it'll go automatically by itself too. But if you want to see how you can create a photo gallery just using JavaScript and CSS, that is a way of doing it. All right, but it's not my goal to go over DOM stuff because we're kind of past that. So I want to go over some of the array stuff that's in here. The date's only got a couple things. The math has got just a couple things. The string has got a couple things. And then I want to go through this one in a little bit more depth. All right? Now this array, if you notice, and don't worry about that. That's just the pages from the old book. All right? You'll notice that there are a bunch of examples in here. There is not time, especially if I want to get this done by 9 o'clock or so, to go through all these. But I wanted to grab a couple of them, so I will. So I'm going to grab just the last couple. All right, 6, 7, and 8 here. All right, and I'm going to go through those. In fact, yeah, that'll work fine. All right. So if we look at this, this is the kind of stuff you should be able to understand already, okay? The first thing is, if you look up on the screen here, if everybody would, you may or may not remember that's called an associative array. So rather than saying months 0 equal 31, etc., I'm putting words in there. So this array, now if I want to refer to months January, it's got a value of 31, February's 28, etc. I'm not going to go through all of them, of course. All right. Then we go through and we print them out for like the next 35 years or so. Why did I do that? Because there's also a check in here that checks to see whether or not those are leap years. So there's more code in here. In fact, if I run this, what this is, 8. The output's kind of ugly because it's 35 years full of output. All right. But you'll notice, for example, if you remember, this year was a leap year. So February had 29 in it. All right? Next year won't be a leap year. The following year won't be a leap year. The following year won't be a leap year. And if we go down to 2020, it should be a leap year. So you see that. All right? Now, is that important? Not at all. But what you should be able to do by now, each and every one of you, is you should be able to look at the code that's in here and understand exactly what it's doing. Again, this is setting up an associative array. This is iterating our way through the array from years 2016 through 2050. Notice if I change it from 2050 to 2020, for example, if I just do that, the output will be a lot more manageable. So what did I do? 20. Well, don't know what I did. I just changed the 2050 to a 2020, but I'm not sure what I did, but I seem to have broken the program. All right, but you should be able to see, notice these are nested loops. So these are loops within loops. All right, this first one is going to go 35 years. Then inside, this is doing every month. Why? Because it's checking, and it says if the month is February, check and see if it's a leap year. If it is, set the number of days to 29. Otherwise, set the number of days to 28. All right? And then we write it out on the screen. We could have done alerts or whatever. And this is the function that does that. Now, you may or may not be aware of it. Most people, and I always thought this growing up, that if a year is divisible by 4, it's a leap year. That's not always true. If the year is divisible by 100, for example, the year 2100, it must also be divisible by 400. All right, considering this is what, 2016, and that's 84 years from now? Some of you might still be around. I don't think I will. All right, but you get the idea. All right, so you should be able to look at that example, go through it, and ideally at least, it'll make some sense to you. All right, this example right here, what is it doing? It's just running through and it's going to print out the years. This year and the next 10 years. So it should be printing out everything that you see in there. All right. So these are things that you should be able to look at. And there they are. And it should make sense to you. All right. There are examples here. Again, there are some more examples over here. I haven't even looked at all of these, to be honest with you. I found them yesterday and I just copied them on over. All right. Here are just 2 examples of working with dates. That's it, 2 examples. All right. And if we look at this, it's showing you this is how we can create a new date object. Once we create a new date object, we can get the day of the month, the day of the week, the current year, etc. All that good stuff. And you'll notice if I do this, what does it give me? It gives me today, December 7th, 8/26/25. All right. The value of the month is 7. I'm sorry, the day of the month is 7. You go, how did it get 7? I don't know. All right, but somehow it's figured that out. Oh, that's the day of the month. It is the 7th. The day of the week is 3. All right. And remember, Sunday is day 0, Monday is day 1, Tuesday is day 2, Wednesday is day 3. That's why we've got that. The value of the current year, the milliseconds, etc., the minutes and the hour, all that good stuff. All right. So you see how you can work a little bit if you need to, want to, with the date. All right. And the second example here, this one shows how we can change those examples. I think one of you asked me this a long time ago. I don't remember who it was. It really doesn't matter. But when the system is going and it's grabbing all that date information, it's grabbing it from right there. Does that make sense to everybody? It's grabbing it from that machine. Now, if you're hooked up to a mainframe and your machine's a dumb machine, it'll be grabbing it from the mainframe. You can also grab the time from the mainframe, or another machine, some kind of a server, if you're connected to it. I'm not. Yes. Then yours is wrong too.
Okay, so it wouldn't interfere with your
No.
time?
Again, it depends on whether or not you've got a dumb terminal or a smart terminal. I worked for years with a dumb terminal, and really the time was always wrong. The date was right, but the time was always wrong. After a while, you just get used to it. You wear a watch, All right, and you'll see that if I run this one, now it allows me to go in and reset some stuff. So I reset the day of the month to the 22nd. And it did that. You say, well, it didn't do it here. No. But as far as the system is concerned, we did that. I reset the year. Notice it shows me the year now. I've reset the hour. All right. Milliseconds are a kind of a funky thing because you can reset them, but by the time you print them, they've changed. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. The new month should be 11. Well, it is December already. The new minutes, notice that that's 44. The new seconds, that's now 8. So that shows you, and I mean, it's a very small example, but it shows you, if you have an interest, how you can go in there and you can manipulate some of the stuff for the dates. All right? In much the same way, there are some examples here for math. Again, only 3 examples. So if we look at the first one, if I run this, we'll come back and look at the code in a second. All right? Absolute value, floor, ceiling, etc. All right, just so you know how that works. And what did I do? Not much. I set up some numbers. Then I said, give me the absolute value of those numbers, give me some floors, and give me some ceilings. That's it. Like I said, not much, but just so that you understand what those are doing. Then a second example. And in that second example, this is a thing called max. You can pass it a bunch of values, and it'll show you the biggest value that's in there. You literally can pass it like 100 values. Now that would be a pain to sit there and the first value, comma, the second value, etc. I don't know if you can pass that in array and if it works or not. Try that if you want. And if there's a max, there's a min. The POW function. So, this takes that number 3, which is this, and it raises it to the third power, which means it cubes it. So it's 91 point something times 91 point something times 91 point something, which is a pretty big number. All right. Rounding with 2 fixed, rounding using round. All right. And I did it 2 ways to show you that when you do this, let's just run this. All right. So there's that value to 2 decimal places. Notice that since it's less than 0.5, but the next number here is 5 or above, it rounds it to 91.5. These are just things that should make sense to you. They should click with you as far as how they work. If you had a math teacher back in junior high or high school that was worth their salt, they explained this stuff to you. But you see how you can do it now programmatically. And that's what I was trying to show you here. All right. And the next example that's here, all this is going to do is generate 10 random numbers. That's it. But you notice, we talked about these before. You can see the numbers. Notice if I go and I keep clicking F5, I should get different numbers every time I'm doing this. And I should be able to literally do it hundreds of times. Of course, the numbers are going to repeat, but that pattern of 10 should not repeat if I've got a really good random number generator. Does that make sense? We've looked at examples similar to this already. We're going to look at them again in just a minute. So that's a couple things that are in there for working with numbers. Strings, and again, not many, just a couple of examples for strings. Looks like 5 examples here. And I'm just going to go through all of these quickly. Here's the first one. Whoops. First one. So what does it do? Well, notice I put a bunch of stuff in here, small, bold, italic, font color, etc. And you'll notice that if I run these, you can see what happens. Here's where I put that to red. All right. This is no longer active. It used to be, I think that Microsoft was the only one, in fact, they may still, that supported this. Do you ever get text that just blinks? All right. There was a blink that you could put in to do that. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it works anymore. I don't think it even works in Microsoft, but we can try it. No. All right. So you can see how you can do some manipulation that way. And you go, this looks like a lot of stuff you do in a word processing program. That's true. But if you're writing an application program using JavaScript, and you want to bold something for whatever reason, you could do that using code. And this shows you how to do that. All right? Here's an example. This is actually there's an example almost like this in the book. What this does is it checks to make sure there's an @ sign in there in your email. And if there is, it says that it's valid. Now that's unbelievably simplistic email validation, but you can see how you could start to use that, and then you could build upon that if you were so inclined. And this one, all right, same kind of thing, and this one in here. Now this one is actually one you might want to take a look at. All right, why? Because this is the string. The merry, merry month of June. Again, this was out of a book. This isn't something I came up with. So if I want the first M, it should come back and say it's in position 0, 1, 2, 3. It should say that the first position, M is in position 4. That makes sense? Then the second M, or the last one, would be what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So it should say there, the last M is at 17. Then we've got a thing here that uses the substring. It says start with position 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it says start with this M, and this says go 5 positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that should grab the word Mary. Those are the kind of things I'm going to expect that you understand when you take the test on Friday. All right? So you'll see that if I run this, again, the first M is in position 4, the last M is in position 17, and that substring produces the word Mary. All right? Again, this is all stuff that by now should make sense to you, each and every one of you that are in here. All right? All right, then these array apps. You may not remember this, but we looked at these as a class earlier this semester. We're going to very quickly look at them again now, and I'm actually going to do them in reverse order. I'm going to look at this one that's called arrays.js first. Why? I'll run it for you and I'll show you why. All right, click the calculate button, boom. What does it do? It creates an array, it sorts them in ascending order, it gives you the smallest number, it sorts them in descending order, it gives you the largest number, it adds all the elements, then it divides all the elements by 25 to give you the average. All right? So notice if I go and hit F5, so remember this, 49, 5, 6, 12, 39, etc. You'll notice that now it's changed. All right? So why am I even taking the time to show you this? Because this particular example has got a bunch of the different things that are in there for arrays, such as if I want the sum of the elements, just put it into a simple loop and give me the sum. All right? If I want them in descending order, I literally grab this kind of thing right from the internet. This is a simple bubble sort. It's about the simplest sort that you can possibly do. All right? The smallest and largest numbers that are in the array. Well, what did I do to get the smallest and what did I do to get the largest numbers? Well, notice the sort array ascending, the sort array descending. Okay, now I want to show you the magic. Okay, now I wrote all this, and this says sort array descending. Everybody agree with that? What if I didn't want to do that? What if I don't want to do all this work? What if I say, you know what, this is too flaming much work to do? All right, so I'm going to grab this entire routine here, and I'm going to comment it out. All right, and I'm going to replace it with this. Array.sort, what was it? The array? The array. All right, that's it. So I'm replacing all that with just one line of code. I'm going to save this. I'm going to come back and I'm going to run it again. So that was index 3. Run. Run. Is it still in ascending order? As far as I can see, it is. So you start to see why these built-in functions were created. Because it makes your life a heck of a lot easier. All right? You can still do it like this, So you can still do this. It's doing the same thing. This, for lack of better words, is kind of an alias for doing what's below. All right? Now, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. Now I'm going to go down to that descending. And again, I'm going to comment the entire thing here out. And I'm going to replace that descending. I'm going to tell it to sort. And then remember, there's an array dot reverse. All right? So let's save it again. Let's go back. Let's run it again. And notice, I have my ascending, I have my descending. One sec. But we replaced probably in upwards of 20 lines of code with 3 lines of code because we called built-in functions. Does all that make sense? Go ahead.
I think that the arrays.js is called by the index1 HTML.
Oh, all right. All right.
That's one.
All right, let's look.
So I think index3 is for the
You're right. So next one. Okay. I think I've got the wrong ones. This is the one it's calling the one I wanted to call.
Right.
All right, so this is screwed up. All right. But hopefully everybody understands what I'm trying to get across. Now, one thing I mentioned before, and I don't know if you can do this or not, okay? So again, what I'm telling you is I'm going to try something. I have no clue as to whether or not it's going to work. But I'm going to go back to where we've got that, this file right here. And here, displaying the sum, yeah, that's fine. So you've knocked that down, we've knocked this down. Display smallest element. I have no idea if we can do this or not. All right? But remember, there was a function that we can use that will do the minimum. All right? So it's math.min. I don't know if you call math.min. So I don't know if I can say this. Smallest equal math.min and pass it in an array. I don't know if that'll work or not. I have no clue because I've never tried it because I never thought of trying it before. So what I'm saying is this very well might not work. All right? So you get what I'm trying to get across here. Always go and try to see if there is a built-in function that will do what you want it to do first. All right? Because I've given this kind of lecture before, and I've had people say, "Well, isn't that cheating?" No. Somebody created a library of functions and made them available to you. And they made them available to you hoping that you would use them. All right? If you're writing an application, you still have plenty of other stuff you have to write yourself. Okay. All right. Tell you what, I think we can actually do it right now. So let's do this. Let's everybody in here. And I don't know if this is going to wreak havoc with what I have, but it's okay, because if I have to do a reinstall, I have to do a reinstall. But let's everybody in here go to your browser of choice and go to visualstudio.com. One word, visualstudio.com. I'm gonna go a little slower because I want Ethan to get back in here. Now, what you'll notice if you look up on my screen right now, you'll notice that, oh boy. Yeah, that's what you'll notice, that there's nothing there. That one of the things it shows here is visualstudio.com/downloads. So I can click there too if I want to. Otherwise, I can just peruse my way over there to get it. But that's probably the easiest now that we look at it. So let's go here. All right, if I did that too fast, oops. It's right there. Again, you don't need the https/www. All right. If you just go there, you should be fine. If you go there, that should bring you to the screen that you see right here. All right, if you've got that little annoying survey they ask you to take, you can click the X in the upper corner and it'll go away. If you want to take it, you can take it, of course. Like I said, I want to just wait until Ethan gets back in here. Ideally, we can get this done by around 9 o'clock, and then once we do, I'm going to walk over to the conference room, which is right around the corner here. All right, hopefully there's no one in it, and we'll just bring people in alphabetic order. Drew, you'll be first if that's all right. So, all right, and then when you leave, I'll tell you to tell the next person to come in. Boom. These should take just a couple minutes apiece. While we're waiting, let's just take a look at what's in here, all right? Notice we've got Visual Studio Community. That's the one that we're going to use. Notice the keyword there, which is free. So that is the one we're going to choose. They also have Visual Studio Professional, and they have Visual Studio Enterprise. All right, Ethan, we just went out to here. This is where I'd like everybody to go, is right there. And you'll notice with the middle two here, Visual Studio Professional 2015 and Visual Studio Enterprise 2015, they both say free trial. It usually lasts a month, and they consider a month to be 30 days. All right, but after the 30 days, I've already tried. It's very hard for you to manually go in and get more of it for free. Okay, so the Visual Studio Code, just so you know, Microsoft doesn't like themselves to be kept out of anything. So for lack of better words, this isn't exactly true, but it pretty much is. Visual Studio Code, in many ways, is kind of Microsoft's alternative to something like brackets. The idea is it's a code editor that can be used for a lot of different types of projects. This is one of the first times that I know of that Microsoft has openly embraced being able to do PHP development inside of Microsoft, inside of their products, because you can do PHP, for example, using Visual Studio Code. All right. So what I'd like you to do then is under here, click the free download that's over by Visual Studio Community 2015. Again, let's not take the survey right now, so we'll no thanks on that. And you may or may not have noticed what it's doing down here is it should be in your downloads, it should be downloading that, which is an executable. All right. And you might want to then right mouse click on it and choose open. And it should come up then once you do that and look like this. If yours doesn't show on the screen, you're going to have to go to your downloads folder. And that's going to be different depending on the type of browser you have. If you use Chrome, hopefully it came up and it worked just like mine did. All right. So, as you probably guess, you click Run. You may or may not get any kind of a message that says, you want to run this file. It might even ask something along the lines of, it might say, you need administrator permissions, etc. to do that. Again, that's going to depend on the settings on your individual machine. All right, so I'm going to tell it to run again. And it's going to go through here and it's going to do the run. All right. All right. Now, you're not going to get the message probably that I have because I already have the better product on here. See that? You shouldn't get, I don't think you're going to get this message. All right. And it's telling me, it's like, you can basically do this if you want to, but it's like, it's kind of this way. You've already got a Mercedes-Benz. Do you really want a Yugo? That's kind of what it's telling me. All right. And I don't, but yours, I believe, will have two buttons on it. One that says default and one that says custom. Is that correct? All right. Now, I'll take your question in a second. I'm not telling you to do this. If you choose the custom setting, you can decide exactly what you want. All right? Now you say, well, I don't know that. Then you'd have to go out and investigate it. I would recommend that you just choose the default setting. So you click the default button if it's not already clicked. All right? And once you click that, uh-oh, you're going to have to get a newer version of Windows, I guess, to get that to work. What version of Windows are you running? Probably 7. All right? Yeah, you're probably going to, I think you need 10 to run this. So if you get a message up that says that you can't run it, that's why. You had a question? It's what? What that looks like is that you already have a version on your machine, which is I would click the modify button. All right. So now what it's saying is which of those things do you want? So if you do want them all, you could just click them all. All right. Otherwise, you can click anything and then just click the next button. It should do it on this. Then put everything on. Now, if you do the regular install, once it comes up on the screen, and you run it for the first time, this is kind of important. I don't have to look at me, but listen to this. If you don't do it correctly, you can go back and change it, but it's a pain in the butt. All right? So once it gets done and you bring it up the first time, one of the first things it's going to do is ask you what language you want to use. When you do that, please make sure to choose C#, which is C with a pound sign. If you choose something else, then it's going to have to go back and reformat itself, for lack of better words. All right? And if you've done all that and you've gone through all the steps, okay, if it's come back with your everything, the screen is cleared or whatever, that's all you got to do. And then once you close it down, when you're finished, when you close it down, and you go down and you click your button on the bottom left-hand corner and you look at your settings, you should now have Visual Studio Community Edition 2015 is one of the things. You'll have to arrow down because it's in alphabetic order. You'll see with mine, because again, I've already got the Enterprise, that if I click here and I go down, there's Visual Studio 2015. The little thing that looks like a bow tie or whatever you call it, that's always how you're going to want to get into the product. And if you want to, you can right mouse click on there, drag it out to your desktop, and create a link to it there, or you can put it down here, or do whatever you want to do with it. All right? Did anybody try doing it other than Amin here and had any kind of problems? Because if you finish, that's it. That literally is all you got to do. That's good, because now we don't have to do that the first day. We can just start writing code. So if you haven't done so, if you've already done it, all right, then close out everything if it looks like it's done. See if you can start up Visual Studio. And when you start it up, again, mine's going to look a little different than yours because I'm running a different edition. But it should look, yours should come out probably say here, Community. But it's going to come up and look like this. Again, where mine says Enterprise, yours might say something different, but it should look similar. I'm not going to go through any of this. Okay. What we're going to do the first day in class on January 9th, all right, so be ready. On that day, we're going to bring this up and we're going to write a real, a very simple little calculator program like we've done before. Where we're going to, first we're going to write it on a console. In fact, I'll show you the program right now. I think I've got it in here. Yep, there's calculator GUI and calculator console. Cannot be opened. Oh, because I moved where it was. Okay. So the first one, and like I said, we're going to write this as a class. Not real grand or glorious or anything like that. Not a whole lot to it. You've seen things like this before. All right? This will be your code. It's about 70 lines and about half, well, not half, but probably 20% are written for you already. So you click Start. This is a console program. it runs from the console. Enter first number, 47. Enter the second number, 18. You know, enter a 1, a 2, a 3, etc. I'll put a 4 in there. I didn't do any formatting, so you can see exactly what happens. Simple? All right. And then after we do that, then we'll go back and we'll look at how to do the same program, but how to do it as a GUI. I'm going to suggest that almost from day one, after we do this, you do your stuff GUIized. Why? Because once you do it GUI, and it's not going to take long to show you how to do this. There's your GUI. All right? And when we run this, it's a lot faster, proper, more, etc. So now I put in 47 and I put in 18. Now I can add or subtract or multiply or divide or do a modulo, clear it, and exit. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do all that stuff on the first day. Everyone's going to get it done on the first day. Everyone's is going to work on the first day. All right? So we'll do that. And then we're going to get to the point where, if you look here, I already have a bunch of different GUIized versions of a payroll program. All right? And it's not, again, not real pretty or anything like that, but it's going to look like this. So when we run it, it'll look like that. It'll ask you for your name. How many hours did I work? How much do I make an hour? Calculate. It'll show me here, and it shows me here. And notice if I leave something off, in fact, let's just clear it. Calculate. It tells me non-numeric input for hours, etc. I should have checked for here too, but now when I come through here, non-numeric for hours, if I put something, again, non-numeric, if I put something that's out of range, you can only work up to 84 hours a week. Out of range. All right, and you see how it clears it out. So I say I worked 80 hours. Now I get the same kind of thing for the rate. Again, if I put something non-numeric, if I put something negative, but if I say I make $20 an hour, boom, it figures that out with overtime. So we're going to keep beating this program to death. I've got, right now, I think I've got 8 different iterations of it. When I get done, there'll be about 12 or 13. We're going to have an iteration or 2 that we do for virtually every chapter we go through in the book. The way I plan on teaching the class next semester is we're going to do this. Then I'm going to spend, and I'm going to try to limit it to a half an hour of actually bringing up the book and going through what's in the book. Because I'm going to show you it with code. And then we'll go through it in the book, but we'll go through it in the book in a very limited manner. I've already done lectures. There are already 14 lectures out there for the PowerPoints, and there are a bunch of lectures I've done out there where I've already written a bunch of programs out on the YouTube channel. All right, questions?